This week in sports, it's week 14 in the NFL. Can you believe it? They say the cream always rises to the top, and week 14 was evidence of that. The Buccaneers won, beating the Vikings 26-14. Not much to report here. It's December football, and despite Brady's age, he still managed to toss 2 touchdowns, including one to his favorite target, Rob Gronkowski. The Arizona Cardinals crushed the New York Giants 30-7. Since the Vikings lost, the Cardinals are now owners of the 7th seed in the expanded 2020 playoffs. That makes the Vikings outsiders looking in. The Colts beat the Raiders 44-27. Philip Rivers threw for 244 yards and 2 touchdowns in the win. 4 days after the New England Patriots shut out the LA Chargers 45-0, they opened week 14 on Thursday night with a second of their LA games. But this time, it was against Sean McVay and Jared Goff's Rams. It was New England's turn to get embarrassed, losing 24-3 and proving once again that, wouldn't you know it, an NFL caliber team needs an NFL caliber quarterback. Speaking of embarrassment, the Seahawks embarrassed the Jets in a 40-3 blowout. Russell Wilson threw for over 200 yards and 4 touchdowns in the win. Despite Pat Mahomes completing 3 passes to the Miami defense, the Kansas City Chiefs hung on to the lead and beat the Dolphins 33-27. The Buffalo Bills proved that they were indeed a serious contender in the AFC. The 9-3 Bills hosted the 11-1 Steelers in Buffalo on Sunday Night Football and handed the Steelers their second loss of the season. There is no doubt that Josh Allen can play. Allen completed 24 of his 43 passes for 238 yards and 2 touchdowns in the win. And on Monday night, in a thrill of a game, Lamar Jackson dumped all over the Browns. Lamar threw for 162 yards and a score. He also rushed for 124 yards and 2 scores. The Ravens beat the Browns 47-42. Elsewhere in sports, the Cleveland Indians announced that they would be changing their nickname and mascot following the 2021 season. Giannis got paid. The Milwaukee Bucks and the Greek Freak agreed to a 5-year Supermax extension worth $228 million. And the NBA preseason started this past week, and Kyrie Irving is already making headlines in Brooklyn. After failing to make himself available to the media on multiple occasions, the NBA fined Irving $25,000 for violating the league's media availability policy. Kyrie responded in the most Kyrie way possible, stating, "I pray we utilize the fine money for the marginalized communities in need, especially seeing where our world is presently. I do not talk to pawns. My attention is worth more." He went on to clarify that statement by saying, "It's really just about how I felt about the mistreatment of certain artists when we get to a certain platform, of when we make decisions within our lives to have full control and ownership. We want to perform in a secure and protected space." Okay, Kyrie, this is the Under 500 podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back into the Under 500 podcast. My name is Tyler. I am joined by my other two hosts, Eric. How you doing today, man?
What up?
What up? Aaron, what's up, dude? How you doing?
I'm doing great, Tyler. Always good to hang out with you boys.
Yeah.
Hope our listeners are doing well.
We are
Aaron, you're so put together.
Yeah.
Me and
Your
Tyler are like,
responses-
what up?
Yeah, what's up? My first
I
one was,
have to be.
what
As,
up?
as a pastor, I guess I have to somewhat be able to talk.
Aaron's over there like, my fellow Americans.
Oh, my fellow Americans.
Fellow parishioners, welcome.
So we are in
Run for
episode,
president, Aaron.
We are in episode 6 now. And yeah, we're having a blast doing this. So for this week, I really want to start off, switch it up a little bit here. And I want to ask you guys a couple of sports trivia questions.
I'm gonna
And
suck
just
at
for the
this.
record,
Go ahead.
listeners, we do not know what these questions are.
Yeah, he sprung
I
this
have
on
heard
us like,
none of these.
Yeah,
to this
I
point.
just told them today that I was doing trivia.
not only that, but we have like notes, like, you know, that we use for the podcast, and it just says sports trivia. There's no questions. There's no way to Google these.
You know, actually,
we're
fun
just
fact,
winging it.
I put the questions in there, and I was like, nope, it's better if they don't see them.
Ugh.
So I just kind of intrigued by sports trivia today. And I was looking up, on this day in sports history, but some days that's super dry. especially when you only record on a certain day. So, my first sports trivia question is, what are the only 2 days in a normal year, not a coronavirus year, that features no professional sports in the United States? So that would be baseball, hockey, football, and basketball. What are the only 2 days in the whole
only
year?
those 4 sports. It doesn't feature any of those 4.
Right, the big ones, the big 4.
So are you looking for like a day of the week, or like the
well,
exact day, like month, day of
well,
the month, all that
it's-
stuff?
The answer is
Is it like Easter? Like Good Friday, Easter?
nope, it's not Good Friday and Easter.
Yeah.
So when none of them play.
There's not a single game on these 2 days.
So are you looking for the exact date then?
No, because it could actually. It's always in the same month, and I'm not entirely sure if this event is on the same week.
Right.
But it surrounds an event.
Right. It would have to, man.
I have a second
Shoot.
guess.
Wait. So this happens every single year.
Every year in
Right.
a normal year, so not a coronavirus year.
Okay, right. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, this year ruined everything. It would have to be at some point. Well, no, baseball starts what, April?
April.
Shoot, and it goes through to October. Dang. Wait a minute. January basketball is going on. February basketball is going on. Oh, wait a minute. There's the All-Star break for basketball. That's in February. And then there's no football going on at that point. I don't know. When does the hockey season start?
Yeah, that would be hockey season.
It would be going on in February, the hockey season.
Yeah, it would?
Yep.
Dang.
So not the not the NBA All-Star break.
All right, Tyler, tell us.
Yeah, I
It's
don't know,
the
man.
day before and after the MLB All-Star game.
Wait, really?
Yep.
Oh,
Wait.
okay.
I don't know much about baseball. When
It's
is
in
So
the
like
July.
All-Star game?
July.
It's in July.
Oh, okay, that
So
makes
basketball
sense.
season's normally over. Hockey season's normally over.
Yeah.
No football.
No football, obviously, and then baseball doesn't play games that whole week.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Dang.
that. I did not know that because I was trying to think of when all the seasons
three-
lined up,
I
and I'm
think
like,
it's
they're
3
always
days.
overlapping. Well,
Yeah,
I did
baseball
not know
gets
that.
3 days off. So, my second question. So, yeah, my second question is, and you guys, Aaron, I'm expecting you to get this. Who is the silhouette on the NBA logo portraying?
I
Eric,
don't
do you
know.
want to go?
Do you know the answer?
It's Jerry West.
Who did he play
I
for?
don't know. Okay.
Who did Jerry West play for?
Oh, wait. Lakers.
Yep.
I
Good
was like, I
job.
don't know. No, I do know that one.
Wow.
He's old school, man. That's a very,
glad
very
you,
old
I'm
player.
glad you got that one. He's also been under scrutiny recently.
Oh no!
If
Is
you're
this
listening,
like an
I'm not
angry
gonna-
white man thing.
No,
that
I'm
he's
not going to
doing?
go into
Oh.
it, but if you're listening or if you guys want to check it out later, it's actually kind of interesting, but it's long. All right, so
Oh,
my
man,
third
I'm
and
I'm
final
intrigued now.
my third and final trivia question for tonight is, how many footballs are the home team required to provide the referees with at the beginning of each NFL game?
Fully inflated?
I think
Yes.
I've heard this before. Is it 12?
Nope.
I've heard this before. That's a
Isn't it like 15 or 18 or something like that?
Nope, it's more than that.
Really?
shoot?
Does that include kicking balls or just like regular pigskins?
It's pigskins, probably. It didn't specify whether or not it was the K-balls or not.
Is it
Is
50?
this a trick question?
No.
Okay, so we're talking.
It's
Never-
the home
we're
team
talking
is
just about
required.
footballs,
Yes,
right?
yes. The home team is required. The home team in an NFL game is required to provide the referees with 36 footballs at the beginning of each game.
I wonder why they like. How did they come to that number?
That's not even
do
12
not
per
know.
quarter.
Like-
So
like, who's the guy? Like the board's like 36 is the acceptable number of balls
Yeah.
to bring to a game. No,
Not-
not 35, not 37.
not 40, which
36.
would be like 10 per quarter.
Right.
36,
It's 36.
which is 36 divided by 4. What is that? 9? Is it?
We went to Bible college. We don't do math.
36. 36.
I think it's
Yeah,
9.
it's 9. It's 9. You're right.
Eric. we
So,
don't do that.
That's
We
all
don't
I
do
have
that
for
here.
trivia. I love asking trivia questions. So,
Yeah, it sucks when you're us though, and we feel like
Well-
idiots. We're just like, I don't know.
yeah.
That's okay. We
So-
put Tyler on the spot
know
for
what?
the Mount Rushmore, so he has
Yeah.
some clout to be able to throw back on
Yeah.
us some spur of the moment.
Exactly. So, yeah. NFL, huh? What about
Nice
the
segue.
NFL? That was supposed to transition well, but it didn't. And that's okay.
Do you guys want to hear a funny story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do it.
So, because I have a son and a dog and a wife, normally Sundays I try and watch sports.
In
but I
that
don't-
order.
No,
I'm just kidding.
don't get me in trouble.
That's wicked funny.
Oh boy, now I'm in trouble. Anyways, well, I'm sleeping with the dog tonight. So normally I don't get to take, like I used to before Ben was around. We used to take, like, me and Michelle. I would put on Red Zone, and we would take these like legendary Sunday afternoon naps because we had to go back to church on Sunday night. I would teach, but in between, like, there wasn't anything to do. We really couldn't go anywhere, so we would just nap. And let me tell you, I think you guys can agree that Sunday afternoon nap is prime. One of my favorite times to nap.
I will say Sundays, there's got to be some scientific reason. Like, I'm just way more tired on
Yes.
Sundays than any other day. I don't know
100%.
why. So I agree.
So, anyways, so this past Sunday we got Texas Roadhouse, and I got some country fried chicken with some white gravy, and it was baller. And I put on Red Zone, and I laid on the couch. And before I fell asleep in one of these legendary naps that I don't get very often, it had switched over to the Jets game. And I remember that, like, as I was dozing off, I don't know, the nobody commentators, because the Jets game, well, they had Russell Wilson, so it was kind of somebody, I think. They were saying that even though the Jets haven't won a game, they've scored a touchdown, I think, in every opening drive for like 6 or 7 games in a row, which is leading the NFL. So I thought to myself,
Wow,
okay, well, they're
weird.
about to go down and score, because they were going down to score. I fell asleep. I woke up 3 hours later to the end of the game, 40-3. The Jets suck. Holy
the
smokes,
Jets.
they absolutely suck. They didn't even score. I'm thinking,
Do you
wait
think
a
they'll
minute,
go
what
all
the
in
heck
16?
happened?
You think they'll do it?
I think they're purposely trying to do it. So yes, like,
Yeah.
you remember when the Browns lost every game? Did you really feel like they were losing every game, or did you feel like they just couldn't get out of their own way? The Jets really feel like they're trying to lose every game.
They're terrible. It's
how
like
about
there's nothing they do well.
They could have had a win if they didn't blitz everyone except one guy on the fastest wide receiver on the freaking
I know,
on the
the
Raiders team.
freaking defensive coordinator hit the engage 8 play in Madden and just like
I-
sent
oh.
everyone.
The engage 8, the amount of touchdowns that have been scored off of that.
I
my
know.
goodness.
It's like, you don't do that. And I love that he got fired.
Yeah, that's wicked
instantly.
funny.
But we don't need to talk about the Jets because, Eric, there's another team in the AFC East that I know
Ugh.
you want to talk about.
Really, which one though? Because there's 2 other ones that are semi good, but
How about
one
the
of
ones
them,
that knocked the Steelers off?
guys, I've been saying this ever since we started, but the Bills, the Buffalo Bills, they're legit.
10-3.
They're
Ugh.
They're 10-3.
so
Josh Allen can
they're
play.
so legit.
Oh,
And you know what's crazy about the Buffalo Bills? Is by some miracle, how many games are left? 3?
3.
If the Chiefs lose the rest of their games and the Bills win the rest of their games, wouldn't the Bills get the number 1 seed?
yeah, but that's not happening.
I
so-
know it's not, but I'm just saying it's insane with 3 games left that the Bills can get to that opportunity.
I see your point. Like, the Bills are in the position where if something crazy happens, they
Right.
could be the number 1 team in
Right.
the AFC.
That is insane. The
It is.
Buffalo Bills.
No, and I think what Eric was saying is they're legit. I mean, you
They're-
see them play, and Josh Allen, like, this has got to be one of the biggest steps forward I've seen a quarterback take, like, from one year to the next. Because they were talking about it on the game the other night, and the first 2 years he was one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks in the league, and then all of a sudden this year he comes in and his percentages have increased drastically, and he's a guy who can actually hit those intermediate passes like he wasn't able to the past 2 years. And they talked about he worked on his mechanics. He does a ton of drills now to hone that in, and it's usually you hear that and you're like, okay, that's not really going to do much.
Right.
But this kid, like, I don't know, something clicked
He found a
from
groove.
year 2 to 3.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you pair that with his athleticism. It still blows my mind when I see him run and scramble because he's a tall,
He's
lanky
huge.
white dude.
Yeah, he's
And so,
wicked
like, you
tall.
think, oh, he's not that fast or athletic, and he takes off. He takes off. He's like out. He's out running like secondary guys.
Yep.
So he's got a set of wheels on him, and then I mean, you pair that with the Bills have always been a smash mouth, in your face kind of a football team. They do that with the run game. They have a great defense. I mean, they're contenders. Like again, I don't know if they could knock off the Chiefs, but I think they give the Chiefs a run for their money.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs always have that Mahomes factor. That's like, I mean, you could go up big on the Chiefs and there's still that Mahomes magic. So that's why I still give them the edge. But
Yeah.
nah, man, the Bills they're legit. They're
Legit
legitimate.
team.
The thing about the Bills is that at the very least, they're not going to be one of these indoor-outdoor teams that if they have to travel to the Steelers or to the Kansas City Chiefs, which are both really tough places to play, but Buffalo is certainly no cakewalk. Like
Right.
Buffalo is
No.
cold. Buffalo gets like 10 million feet of snow a year. Like they're used to playing in weather. So that whole like, indoor-outdoor thing where a team or East Coast, West Coast, or South Coast, North Coast kind of thing where a team that's a contender, but they're not used to playing outside in a blizzard, comes
Right.
out of their dome and suddenly they're like that's I don't
Right.
see that
tough.
happening. Yeah, they have that
They're
toughness
tough.
to them.
They got that moxie in them, which helps
Good
in
word.
the playoffs. It really does. It really helps in the playoffs to have that kind of an attitude, to have that character, to face adversity. And so I think because we've seen it with like the Peyton Manning teams where they're indoors, and even the Saints teams, indoor great teams, great offenses. They're not really tough though, and then when they get to the playoffs, they get smacked in the mouth or they're in a bad weather game and they crumble. So the Bills, they're weathered.
Yeah.
So I think they could I think they could make a run in the playoffs.
Speaking of overachieving and underachieving in the playoffs, I think we need to settle a dispute from last week, and I want to open it up with a wonderful email that we got this week from our buddy Owen, who he basically eviscerated my take. So I would like to petition the audience for a take adjustment. Let me read you this email. It says, first off, I like the pod. Thanks, Owen. I think overall you guys have pretty solid opinions, and even if I don't necessarily agree, you will present your arguments well. Awesome. As Stephen Smith would say, though, however,
And just pause here for a second. I just want to let you know this is not directed towards me, right? So,
I don't personally think that I was in this category either.
hands of this.
Last I checked, you only wash your hands if they're dirty.
Oh, only if I have to wipe more than 3 times.
Okay. And all the women just turned off the podcast.
Anyways, as Stephen Smith would say, though, however, the notion that Aaron Rodgers is a playoff underachiever is blatantly false. I went to Pro Football Reference to crunch the numbers. In 18 playoffs games, he says his record listed 19, but he didn't play at all, so I didn't count that one. Okay, good job. He is 10-8. In those 18 games, he has an average of 280 passing yards, and a 2.2 TDs to 0.67 interceptions with 100 passer rating. Very good numbers. In his 8 losses, he averaged 270 passing yards with 2.1 touchdowns to 1.1 interceptions with an 89 rating. Not Hall of Fame worthy, but definitely enough to win a game. His defense let him down. In those 8 games, his defense gave up an average of 36.4 points per game and 170 rushing yards, 280 passing yards, and only came away with 1.4 turnovers a game, a number greatly boosted by a game in Seattle in which they got 5. Without that game, that number dropped to 0.75. If you're going to argue that he underachieved in the playoffs, you cannot ignore that those are some of the most horrific defensive stats I've ever seen, not to mention the poor coaching. Unless I didn't see it, he only argued with McCarthy towards the end of his tenure. And the fact that his GM was awful. Ted Thompson was notorious for not pursuing free agents and drafted relatively poorly. Can't wait for your next week's pod. So I would like to petition for a take adjustment. And my take adjustment is that I think it would be fair to say that the Green Bay Packers have underachieved in the playoffs. They in 30 years, they have had 2 quarterbacks that combined have 5 MVPs, but the team only has 2 Super Bowls. And I would further like to say that if the team has underachieved in the playoffs, you cannot exonerate the team leader in Aaron Rodgers, who, although based off of those numbers, I have to admit he has played well. It does not take away from the fact that in the NFC Championship games, which is a higher stakes, he has not played the greatest. So, and he's only 1-2 in those games. So, yes, they had a bad defense. Yes, I think the Green Bay Packers have underachieved. Yes, they have not set him up to win. Yes, they have not allowed Aaron Rodgers, who's a prolific talent, not given him the best talent around him. Yes, Mike McCarthy is a total bum, and I don't understand these teams, and the GM in Green Bay obviously is one of these teams that thinks, oh, we'll just get a prolific quarterback and not surrounded with any talent or defense, and he'll win it all. Like that's how Peyton Manning ended up with Denver, and that's how Andrew Luck ended up retiring, because the Indianapolis Colts GMs just couldn't figure out that you had to actually have a team around your quarterback if you wanted to go win something. But I do think that you can't say the Packers have underachieved without also saying that the leader of the Packers has also somewhat contributed to that. Maybe not the biggest factor. I'm not saying like 70-20 or 70-30 would make 100. So 70-30, I'm saying like, a percentage of the underachievement or of one of the reasons they have not won more is because their leader hasn't done what he's needed to do in every game.
So like 99-1.
No, I wouldn't say that much. Is that that's my petition. I'm not. That's my petition to adjust my take that the Green Bay Packers have underachieved and that Aaron Rodgers is just part of that team.
So I really don't feel like, Eric, I like your take adjustment. But my take adjustment, I don't even think it needs to adjust that much, because I went and listened to the podcast last week to make sure that I said this. And I did say that my take was not so much Aaron Rodgers as it was the Green Bay Packers. And as I thought it through and as I talked with you guys about it, my take really is a lot more focused on the fact that if you have Aaron Rodgers on your team, who is shown to be an overachiever, maybe not in the playoffs or in the NFC Championship game, but an overachiever in his career, if you can't surround him with a defense that can at least hold the teams to under 36 points or whatever the number you said was average, then your front office is a bunch of bums, and your front office is the by far the biggest underachievers of the entire organization. So my take doesn't really adjust a whole lot, other than my focus is a lot more on the front office not surrounding him with enough talent. Because if you give him, even just an okay defense that can hold their ground, how many Super Bowls do you think they'd have?
Yeah, that 36.5 points per game.
That's
horrible.
bad.
That's egregious.
That's
egregious.
really, really, really bad.
You aren't putting him in a place of success. I will give you that. Like, you're even Aaron Rodgers' talent, you're asking him to score 40 points to win.
Right.
And not only that, you're giving up 170 rushing yards a game, which means the other team's dominating time of possession.
Right.
So it's like, so you have to score a lot of points, more than 36, and you have to do it with less time because
you have to be incredibly efficient.
Over you.
Yeah, it's bad. Right. So Aaron Rodgers is an overachiever. I'm willing to say that. And I've always liked the Aaron Rodgers. I think he's a great quarterback. I like watching him play. He's awesome to watch throw the football. So I blame the front office, not Aaron Rodgers, and really not even Aaron Rodgers' offense. So yeah, that's my take.
Yeah.
Aaron, you're clean.
I do
You're on the
appreciate
complete other side.
I appreciate Owen's feedback sandwich. Hey guys, I love the podcast. Now I'm going to tell you everything that I disagree with and where you're wrong. Can't wait for next week's podcast.
Love it.
It's classic.
Love it.
It was good.
Compliment, rip them a new one. Quick compliment. Out.
Now, please keep them coming, because I love that.
That was really good. We appreciate it. And honestly, that made me change my opinion. The 36.5 points per game, I should have researched that. If I had come to that myself, I would have said, wait a minute.
That's bad.
Right.
That's
really bad.
Like giving up 36 a game, your offense is pretty much, you're screwing them over at that point.
Right.
But yeah, just quick reminder then that again, you guys can send emails to us. Send us at the under 500 podcast at gmail.com. Or you send us a DM on our Instagram account, just like Owen did, and we'll get to your topics. We want to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
So that's it for that plug. Sorry, we can continue.
Good job, Aaron.
That's okay. You'll hear it again at the end.
So
Yes.
another email topic we got from Owen, because I really like this one. And I almost threw it in last week, but I thought it would be better to put it in this week because we had a lot to talk about last week. But this was a question he posed: which rookie quarterback seems the most likely to become a star? Who could become a Hall of Famer? Now, here are the 2020 rookie quarterbacks. I wanted to make this more interesting, by the way, and try and find, but it was impossible to find the contracts. Like, not just include the rookies this year, but also include the people under a rookie contract. So, like, obviously, Pat Mahomes would be out. He got an extension, but I think why am I blanking? Browns quarterback.
Baker
Mayfield.
Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield, is he under a rookie contract still? Like, and is Kyler Murray still under a rookie contract? Like, it would be
No
interesting to throw
idea.
those people in.
Kyler still is, because he's only in his third year.
Yeah.
This is Baker's fourth. No, wait, Kyler's in his second year right now, so he's
I
definitely.
think Baker's in his third. So I don't know. But anyways, I couldn't find it. So here are the 2020 rookie quarterbacks that were drafted this past draft. So Joe Burrow was drafted by Cincinnati, number 1 overall. Tua was drafted by Miami, 5th overall. Justin Herbert by the Chargers, 6th overall. Jordan Love by the Green Bay Packers, 26th overall. Jalen Hurts by Philadelphia, 53rd overall. James Morgan by the Jets, 125th overall. Jacob Eason by the Colts, 122nd overall. And Jack Fromm, with 2 M's, by the Bills, 167th overall.
7
So-
of those 8 begin with J.
No,
I,
seriously.
You know what
JJ,
else
it's
I
like
noticed
JT,
is
JJ.
You said everybody's last name except for Tua. Why? How come?
Go ahead, say it.
I'm just kidding. I don't want to. I really don't want to. That's,
Tua Tagovailoa.
oh wow.
Yeah, I already butcher names and people keep track
Wow.
of that, so I'm not doing that.
Hooked on
Springfield
phonics.
did
Done
me,
good for
know,
you.
It's I grew up amidst other ethnicities, so I can pronounce things.
We're proud of you, Aaron. I unfortunately don't share the same background, although I wish I did.
Same.
So for this list, 6 through 8, let's be honest, they're probably not going to be stars because.
I've never even heard of him.
Well,
Well,
wait a minute,
okay.
though. Wait a minute, though.
Look at the Bills. Jack Fromm is starting behind Josh Allen, who's still
Yeah.
really young. Jack Fromm's not getting up. He's not getting on the field anytime soon.
Barring an
In
injury.
Buffalo, Jacob Eason, Philip Rivers is probably going to be there for. I think he'll probably go back for another year. But I don't know if Eason's going to get a chance. Now, James Morgan might because the Jets suck. And Darnold could get benched at any time.
Wait, but they're just gonna draft
Right. So that's exactly they're gonna go for Lawrence.
Trevor
so
Lawrence.
James Morgan's probably never gonna see the field. So those 3 they don't have a shot.
So my only counter to that is the guy with the Colts, because Philip Rivers isn't guaranteed to come back next year, and even if he does, like, is it wrong to say that they drafted a guy they think could be the next guy and they're giving him 3 years in the
That's true.
in the offense before they start him? Now, that being said, if the Colts, somehow move up the draft or suck next year or whatever, and they get like a legitimate star that everyone knows is going to be a star, obviously that guy isn't going to work out. But out of those 3, that one's probably the biggest unknown on the whole list, honestly, in my opinion. Because you kind of I didn't know. Like, I had to research to find out that he got drafted by the Colts.
Right.
And obviously he's not the starter, so we don't know anything about him other than he was drafted by the Colts.
Yeah.
Jordan Love, he's at Green Bay. I think Rodgers still has. Like, he's what, 36?
Yeah, 6 or 7 more seasons.
Yeah, so I mean he's got like at least 3 years left. So Jordan Love's not seeing the field if he stays in Green Bay for a little while either, unless he becomes trade bait later on. So
Right.
I don't know. That's going to be tough for him too. So really, like the top. Well, now Jalen Hurts is playing, so that's a thing. He's in that conversation right now?
I saw today that the brass in Philadelphia are conflicted between starting Wentz or starting Hurts.
I mean, Wentz has played like garbage, so why
Um,
wouldn't you go with Hurts?
Start Hurts. He
That's my
got a
opinion.
career. He got a win.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
He
play
got
the
a
hot
win.
hand.
I don't care what his stats were. He got a win. Start him again. That's
Well, his
something.
stats were still better than Wentz this year. So
Carson Wentz should be cut.
no,
Do
he's
not
got to
pay
go.
that man.
They paid him a lot of money.
Yeah.
too.
I know. It's
He
sad.
robbed them blind, and then he just sucks. So, I think Joe Burrow is going to be a star. I think he is. If like I know he got hurt. He's young though. I think he'll bounce back. But the kid's got talent. We saw that talent before he went down. It's just, I mean, good God, Cincinnati needs to get an offensive line for him so that kid doesn't take a beating. Because even behind that offensive line, he was still playing very well, especially for a rookie.
Yep. Yeah,
So I think
Yeah.
he's a lock for being a star. I don't know.
Honestly, I think he could be a star and a Hall of Famer if he finds a way to get out of Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's true. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I feel bad for the guy because it's like holy crap. Like, what are you gonna? I don't know. What are you gonna do? And
right.
I don't know. It sucks. Tua, jury's out on him. I don't know.
Miami might move on from him.
I have a little bit of a take on Tua.
What's
Go
that?
for it.
So you have the Dolphins at the beginning of the season were doing just fine under Ryan Fitzpatrick,
Mm-hmm.
and my take is all because of we know not so much, and the team knows a lot more about Tua. They've watched him just out every day outside of Sunday,
Right.
and obviously they saw him do with special talent because they started him over Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was doing
He was winning.
fine. He was doing
winning.
he was doing fine where he was.
That's
and they were like,
assuming
you know
that
what?
Miami knows what they're doing, though.
They're an organization in the NFL Football League. I think that they probably know what they're doing.
Well, there's a lot of organizations in the football league.
Yeah, I
we
don't know if
could-
you could say that.
we could say that for days, but we're not employed by the NFL. So I'm just saying they probably
but
know
we have eyes.
a lot more than we do. Yeah, they have eyes 7 days a week. We have eyes 1 day a week. I'm not
Okay,
buying
fair
it.
enough.
So I wear contacts, so I see really clearly. So
Wait, Aaron, you wear contacts?
yeah, my vision sucks, dude. I can't see anything.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well,
Yeah,
okay.
I have horrible genetics. Anyways, so just continue.
So my I agree with you, Aaron. Joe Burrow.
That I have bad genetics.
No, I know nothing about your
Sorry.
family. So Joe Burrow is going to be a star.
Yes.
With the talent that he has, Joe Burrow is going to be a star. He's an amazing quarterback. He's very good. My 1A for, I think, on this list, who's the top rookie of 2020 that's going to be a star, is going to be Tua, in my opinion.
Really?
I do.
Okay.
I think if he gets maybe Miami moves on from him and he ends up on a good team in a good organization that can surround him around talent, I think Tua is gonna go have a great career. I really do.
I hope the best for him. I always get nervous with that hip.
Yeah.
I hope nothing ever happens to where he re-injures that, because that was a nasty injury he got in college. But
Yeah.
he was, I mean, in college, I think he was the most accurate quarterback ever. He had like the best completion percentage and best passer rating over like a college career, which is pretty nuts. And then I love Justin Herbert though, just because like the dude wasn't even supposed to play this year,
And he looks really good.
and he looks and he's on track to set a bunch of like rookie records for quarterbacks, which is nuts. The kid's got a cannon though. That kid can sling it. He looks like he's 15 years old, but the dude can ball out.
Just imagine if they had Tyrod Taylor, who doesn't throw the football and frankly isn't that good.
I wonder if that doctor did it on purpose.
The team would, hey, we really
They
like the
faked the
rookie.
injury.
Could you just miss by a
We're gonna
centimeter?
give you a massive severance package. Just
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll put you on a wonderful tropical island for the rest of your life.
yeah. So, it was one of those like Tom Brady situations for Herbert. I remember when Bledsoe got like hit, and he had like a bleeding spleen or something like that.
Dude almost died.
Yep.
He did, yeah. And so Brady came in where it's like Tyrod Taylor gets his lung punctured, and Herbert, who wasn't supposed to see the field at all, shows up and just starts performing. Now, granted, they haven't been winning games, but that's because the Chargers have a lot of issues
They do.
all over the place.
Dysfunctional team.
Yeah,
Man,
I mean,
you know,
Their defense is horrible. Their special teams is some of the worst in the league.
Yep.
But Herbert's been a bright spot, and so I think he's going to be a stud for years.
They need a new head coach.
Oh, 100%. They're a poorly run team, no discipline. But I think they have something good in Herbert.
So honestly, my opinion of this whole list is I don't really have one. Like I don't know. And not because I don't think these guys are talented. I just don't like the teams that they're on, and I don't really think that any of these guys are on a team. Maybe Philadelphia, because I think who's the head coach?
Doug Peterson.
Is it Doug Peterson? Okay, so
Yeah.
I think he's got. I mean, he has a ring. He's got something, you know, as far as coaching abilities go. So maybe him. I think that Joe Burrow can be a prolific star. I don't know if he can do it in Cincinnati because I just don't know if that organization really has a clue. I do think Miami does have a clue. I was just busting your chops a little bit, Tyler, but I don't know. I don't know. Even if they have a clue, is Tua going to be their guy? Like there's rumors coming out of there that they have all these picks. They might package them together and go get an established star or try and move up in the draft and get somebody else. So like there's a big question mark there from the team that drafted the guy. So I don't know.
That's a good point. But I think anywhere Tua goes, from what he's done this year so far, I think if he goes to a team that needs a quarterback, he's going to be the starter. And I think he's going I think if it ends up him getting the short end of the stick, gets traded to a team as a backup, then
I don't think he would though, because I think a team like Jacksonville needs a quarterback.
Yeah, they got nothing. They're bad too. They're right up there with the Jets.
Do you guys remember a few years ago when they had the best defense in the league?
Saxonville, baby.
Oh,
you remember when they almost beat the Patriots?
Yeah. No, they were good that year, and then they had one good year, and then they just regressed back to the norm for them.
Who was their quarterback? What's his face?
Bortles.
Blake Bortles, dude. He was a cheat code in Madden.
Which I don't get because he's never been like that in real life.
No, he was never. But Madden gave him these insane. So like in Madden, if you ever had these like dynasty leagues in Madden, you'd always face out everybody. Like if you watch, the competitions that they'd have live or whatever, every team had Blake Bortles as their.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was insane.
Oh boy.
I don't get that.
So I have had, speaking of like, quarterbacks and young rookie quarterbacks, I've had somewhat of a developing take on the draft as it comes to like quarterbacks and, and just the injuries that have happened to quarterbacks. And my question is, should the league step in to better protect first-year quarterbacks? And the reason why I say that is this is, I live in Jets territory, and I think I've already said that I couldn't believe that Jets fans exist, but there's a lot of them out here that do exist. And we talk inevitably, if people are into sports, I try and talk sports on Tyler's typing things out and it's distracting me.
Come on, we didn't say anything about Jalen Hurts.
What do you want me to say? I already said that he could become like a talent.
Did you? I mention that? Did I miss that?
In Philadelphia, I feel like the head coach has a clue.
Jury's still out on me, which hurts. I don't know.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. He's played one game, but in that one game, he did better than their starting quarterback has done literally all season. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that one game was.
If Jalen Hurts has
he was good,
the remaining of the last 3 games, if he has a good season next year, he comes in and he has a pretty good start. I think he's going to be another star. Go ahead, Eric.
Well, Tyler's all geeked up about Jalen. My ADD kicked in.
I mean,
I figured the thing I was. What is he writing?
Come on the video. If you watch our YouTube, I had my finger up. I was trying to distract you with my finger.
Oh, I had switched off the.
That's okay. All right.
The video. Anyway, so where was I? Let me start over. So I've had this this developing take where I wonder if the league should step in to better protect first-year quarterbacks, and because I live in Jets territory and I'm in a lot of people's homes, we talk a lot of football, and the thing that every Jets fan says over and over again is, "Yeah, the Jets suck this year, but hey, we're gonna get Trevor Lawrence next year." And my response is always, if you were Trevor Lawrence, would you want to go to the Jets? And I can't tell you how many times I've gotten this. They go, no, the Jets are going to ruin him.
Nope.
Yep.
Which makes me think, like, you look at Joe Burrow. what a horrendous injury to a prolific quarterback.
Oh.
Like this wasn't
Yeah.
he wasn't rolling out of the pocket or becoming a trying to run the ball or becoming assigning himself as a running back or whatever. He was in the pocket, trying to throw the ball, and his left knee got pretty much bashed in. Like there's nothing left to it. Like that's egregious. And so I think quarterbacks are the most important position in sports. You could make an argument for pitcher if you
Yeah.
want, but you would lose because quarterback is the most important
Yep.
position in sports.
Oh,
So
yeah, you can't argue that. That's fact.
so and look no further than Dallas when they lost Dak Prescott. You said, all right, well maybe we got Andy Dalton, and then he gets a concussion, and they literally didn't have a quarterback,
Right.
and they flat out sucked until Andy Dalton came in, and they still suck because they rely on Dak Prescott and his abilities. But my question to you guys is, should the league step in? And I'm not for more rules. I'm for things that are kind of outside the box, like there are rookie contracts. Like a rookie contract looks different than a regular contract.
Right.
So do you think there should be like even one more step above that, like a rookie contract for quarterbacks, and things in that contract are first year quarterbacks are limited with the amount of time they can play, the amount of games they can play? Or I even thought about this, like what if you draft a quarterback in the first round, the NFL makes you draft a lineman in the second round or something like this. Just, and I'm not saying that I'm not necessarily for that. I'm never for things
Yeah.
like that, but just outside the box things that says we look at this list of players and we go, these guys could be really good. But then we look at the teams and we go, I don't know if those teams have any clue. And then you look at the best guy on the list, which is Joe Burrow, and you say that guy was on a team that didn't have a clue and they could have just destroyed him. So does the NFL need to step in and do something to make these quarterbacks more protected as far as rookie quarterbacks go, and allowing them to develop and get some experience under them?
My solution is,
So, oh no, go Tyler.
you sure?
Yep.
Because it's quick. My solution is this: have a bonus clause in the contract for the rookie quarterback. If they get injured, they get $1 million bonus. That's it.
So kind of a payout if they do get hurt.
If you get injured because the team couldn't provide you with a defense, you get paid for it.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Extra
that's not a
paid for
bad
it.
idea.
All right. For me, so I think this is kind of like a case of it sounds good on paper, like yeah, no, we need to protect the first year quarterbacks, but it's more of how do you when you get into the practicality of how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
It's like communism on paper in a perfect world is like it kind of makes sense. But the
Good
thing
job,
is,
Aaron.
in
Okay.
reality, it doesn't work. So I don't know how you could, because again, like you said, the idea, and I know you weren't advocating for this; it was just an idea. But like, oh, you need to pick an alignment in the next round. It's like, well, then that kind of hamstrings. So what if your need is like a defensive player?
Right.
Because then now, so drafting a quarterback is going to hinder what we want to do defensively
Yeah.
into the next round. So that's really tough. The only thing I could think is if they were to do somewhat what the NBA does with the draft and do a lottery. So where it's not guaranteed that the worst team gets the first pick, but at the bottom, like 8 teams or 10 teams get a lottery where there's a drawing. And that way, maybe there's a chance that maybe that stud quarterback who everyone knows is going to go first isn't going to be with the worst team, but maybe with a team that maybe like they didn't have a great year, but they at least maybe finished like ninth worst, but they have a better surrounding cast, like to at least change it up.
Yeah, that's fair.
They have a great O-line, but a terrible quarterback. Like a scenario like that.
Right, and so that at least gives it a chance where maybe that top guy isn't automatically, because right now you're automatically screwed and sent to the worst team.
Right.
With a lottery, that at least gives you a chance to go to another team that has better pieces.
I agree
Tyler,
with
who
that
are
a
you
lot.
thinking of when you said good old line, bad quarterback?
Oh no, honestly, nobody. But
Fair enough. I thought Patriots immediately, but
Oh.
anyways. No, Aaron, that's a really valid point, and I'm not an advocate for doing anything that I mentioned. Those are ideas
I
that
know.
popped into my head
Yeah.
because, like, you're right. What if a team actually was doing it the right way and they had, like the Colts, who I really think have been building something and have a
Oh,
decent
they're-
defense
yeah.
and a decent O line. They just don't
their
have a
management's done
permanent.
well.
Yeah. And they don't have a permanent quarterback necessarily. So they brought Philip Rivers in, see what happens, and maybe they go draft one. Like, that's the way to do it. The way that Cincinnati did it, where they didn't have an offensive line, don't have a defense, don't really have that many weapons. I guess they had AJ Green and
He's
there was
washed
another-
up and old. He's
yeah.
nothing.
yeah,
And there was somebody else on the team that was pretty good, but like, oh, here's a quarterback. He'll fix all our problems. Oh, he's injured. oh, he might not ever play the right way again. We don't know. It's still yet to be seen. Like, ugh, there's
Yeah.
got to be something. And I like the lottery idea where, the worst, it basically, it, it encourages teams not to completely tank and completely
Right.
strip away everything so they can go get that quarterback and build around him. But in the few years between when they get him and build around him, they might destroy him.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely has to be something that gives teams an incentive to not just
Go
throw the
8-16.
towel in and go
Yeah.
for that number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
Like
I think they
Tyler,
talked about doing that too. Like that was brought up this year with the draft.
yeah, because I mean, I think any league you have to talk about that because it's always going to be a temptation if you know you're not going to go to the playoffs. Well, we might as well just blow this year up and try to get the best guy in the draft, which for you is great, but for that player, you're ruining their career. So,
Yay, I'm going to the Jets.
You know, and I'd
Yay.
love to be able to compare this to other sports, but you can't compare it to baseball because if you're drafted, with a few exceptions, if you're drafted in baseball, you go straight to the minor leagues. Like
right.
you have to go through the system. It's basically the rules. But and I have no idea how the hockey draft works. I've never paid attention to the hockey draft, so I wouldn't be able to compare it there. But
Yeah, I don't know anything about that either.
I think basketball has it right with the lottery. I really do. That seems to me to be the most logical way to draft the best talent.
Yeah, I think they do it for the bottom like 10 teams. It's a lottery, so it's not guaranteed if you have the worst record that you get that first pick.
just
You have a better
there's-
percentage to get it, but it's not guaranteed.
Right. There's so much logic in it.
Yeah, it's to keep teams from wanting to get the worst record, and then that way it's better for the kids coming out in the draft because it's like, well, I don't want to go to the freaking Cavaliers right now. They're it's like they're a dumpster fire.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and
Speaking of the NBA.
yeah, there we go. Obviously, we are well into the preseason now, and then next, it's crazy that this coming Tuesday, the season will be kicking off fully. And there was a couple big signings and extensions and contracts signed, particularly today, with Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak. He signed an extension for $229 million, which is, I think, now the largest contract signed in NBA history. So the man got paid, and it's a 5-year extension. So he's going to be in Milwaukee for a while. My question to you guys is, since he's going to be there now, can this Bucks team win a championship? Because he's kind of like, hey, I'm all in now for the next couple of years. Do you think that they have what it takes to win?
I don't know. I mean, he's an MVP. Do they have the right? You tell me, Aaron. Do they have the right people around him
For
to
this
push
year
him
right
through?
now? No, they will be. Honestly, I don't even think this year that they'll be in the playoffs. I don't think they'll be the number 1 seed again, though.
But they have 5 years to get it together, right? So
Right.
at least 3, right? Because I think the you can.
Most of them opt out. Yeah, he has like an option to opt out in like the 4th
Right.
year or something like that.
And after a year, if they really wanted to, and they got some crazy offer, they could trade him. Or
Right.
I don't see Milwaukee do. They'd be crazy to do that,
Right.
unless they were getting
That'd be
something
stupid.
absolutely prolific back, and they knew that he wasn't going to stick around anyways. Like
Mhm.
that wouldn't be bad. But so they have at least 3 years, right, to get it right. So do you think
do.
within the next 3 years they have the cojones to put something together that might be able to at least get them into the the championship finals and then go from there?
I think they have the desire to. There's 2 things though that are kind of roadblocks for this. One, it's the teams in Milwaukee, small market franchise. Not many players want to go out to Milwaukee. It's not like they're going to like the LA teams, the Miamis and stuff like that. The bigger markets, that's where they want to go. So you have a hard sell trying to get those guys, because in the NBA, it is like 1 or 2 players makes a difference, and you need those studs. I don't know if they're going to be willing to go there. The second thing is Giannis might have to start changing his tune, which he actually already has started, because he's always been a guy like, I don't need to team up with people. I can win it on my own. Like I don't like these superstar team ups and stuff like that. And honestly, it's like you're not going to win unless you get
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
That's right,
but this
yeah.
year, what's funny is all of a sudden he started changing his tune a little bit and saying, well, if I were to play with Anthony Davis or LeBron James, like, I don't need to be the ball dominant guy. Like, I'm willing to fit into that offense. And so all of a sudden he started changing that. It's like, I think he's starting to realize that that's going to have to happen. And I think if they want to put the team around him to do this, he's going to have to kind of fully embrace that ideology. Be like, hey, I'm good with having another stud come on board and maybe take those big shots and stuff. So I think those things have to happen before they can get that talent. But as of right now, this year, it's not happening. They don't have the.
If you put one single, maybe not all-star, but really good guy in his team, somebody like a Jason Tatum or a
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
somebody like
someone
that
who can shoot
on with the Bucks, I don't think they'll have a problem beating somebody like the Lakers or the the Heat.
Yeah, because I mean, defensively and size-wise, Giannis he's the Greek freak. Like, I mean, he's a specimen. But that's where I kind of wanted to get to this next point with him is the question I kind of have for you guys is Giannis the Lamar Jackson of the NBA? Where
Can
like
you
in
define
Lamar,
that?
I am. I'm about to right now. So
Okay.
Lamar Jackson is. There's no doubt. All of us are in agreement. Phenomenal athlete.
Mm-hmm.
He's fast. He's got crazy agility. I mean, he's got zip on the ball. Freak athlete. We see what he could do on the ground. But when it comes to the fine-tuned skill, he does not have that right now. When you need to put when I know last night they put up a ton of points in the Browns, but like we've seen it in the playoffs when times get tough and it's on him to win the game. He needs to be the one to move the ball downfield to make those throws. He can't do it, and the team falters. And then you have Giannis, who is a physical freak, no denying. Probably right now the most physically dominant player in the NBA. But the guy can't shoot that well. He's not really great at creating his own shot. And we see in the playoffs is when the teams really focus on him, he can't do anything. He starts to shut down. And so what I've like is he that equivalent now to that Lamar Jackson role where he just isn't there yet technically and skill wise to get to that next level, like freak physically and dominant in that aspect. But he just doesn't have, like from what I've seen, he doesn't have that skill set developed yet where he's not a great shooter. He can't. And in this league, you need to be able to hit those perimeter shots. So it's like Tyler, what you were saying, having like a Jason Tatum paired with him, that's a guy who can create the shot.
Right.
Like he doesn't need to have a screen set for him. He can get the ball. He can go into an ISO move and he can cook his defender and get that shot. Giannis doesn't have that ability right now. His is like, I'm just going to bully into the lane, which is great. But then in the playoffs, they're like, okay, we'll just put a wall up. Now shoot.
So,
and then he airballs.
So we've talked about this before in our personal group chats before. There's something that some of these stars are able to do, and that's called flipping the switch.
Mm-hmm.
When you can, in a dire situation, you can turn on all of your skills, be able to make the shots, be able to make the blocks, be able to make the assists, be able to get rebounds and stuff like that. And that is something that translates to Lamar Jackson. He has shown, with the exception of Monday Night Football of Week 14 this past week, he's bad at flipping the switch.
Yeah.
And I haven't
Agreed.
watched a lot of Giannis's stuff, but from where they've been in the standings and where they've been in the playoffs, I do not think that he is able to right now to be able to flip that switch and be able to be that player that can turn it all on and make those shots and make those those plays that ESPN's going to run for the next week because they were so good. The question of is Giannis the Lamar Jackson of the NBA? I would agree with that statement. Or question.
No, that's where I
yes.
fall. That's where I fall because I just, again, I'm not saying he's the league MVP and he's a talent, but there's just that in basketball you need to, if you want to excel, you need to be the one in the playoffs who can take over, create your own shot, hit that big shot, and he just hasn't shown that.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't. I mean, he can develop that skill set. He needs to become a much better shooter. He needs to improve his ball handling a lot. But because until he does that, he will never be able to be that guy. Right now, he needs someone on his team to be that guy.
Right.
Because he can't do it, and he showed that this whole playoff run.
He
Is
needs-
like he's
he
like, I
needs help.
can't hit that big shot. Yep.
He needs help big time.
Yeah. So that's where I fall on that. And then we have James Harden. Obviously, this has been going on for a while. He's putting up a stink, saying that he doesn't want to play in Houston. He wants out. He wants a fresh start. And because they got John Wall, and John Wall's like kind of like, dude, I'd love to play with you. And Harden has told him it's not personal. He just doesn't want to be in Houston. So the question is, where is Harden going to end up? I personally think he's staying. Not because I think he's going to choose that he wants to. I just think right now the Rockets are like, okay, if you go, their asking price is incredibly high. They want a stud, like young cornerstone franchise superstar player plus multiple first-round picks. No team is going to give all that up for a disgruntled player who might just leave after a year.
Yeah.
Not a chance right now. So I think he's going to stay. I don't see any options opening up because the Rockets are just asking for a crap ton. I don't know what you guys think of that.
I mean, the Rockets are playing the game right? He's trying to leverage
they
them.
are. Absolutely.
So
No, they're holding firm.
They're holding firm, which I know that the NBA players typically have the power.
Yes.
But it looks like in this case the NBA players trying to thwart his power or trying to, show his power, and the ownership is thwarting that. They're saying, no,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll trade you, but we better get something good for it. And no one wants to give us something good for you. So, I mean, it's up to you. You can get paid a lot of money to play for us, or you can continue to sit on the sidelines or sit in your house and get your current contract. It's up to you. Take it or leave it. I mean, that's the way to play the game.
That's personally why I think it's going to end
good.
up with him just, and this is my worst nightmare ever because this is my very first time doing NBA fantasy, whatever. And my number one pick was James Harden, and I think
go big or go home, baby.
I think he doesn't want to play in the Rockets so bad that he'll just sit out the season.
Oof. He has said that if it comes to it, he'll be professional and he'll still come out and play and stuff like that. But I mean,
I sure do hope so.
That attitude, it's like, I don't know. Are you really going to give it your best?
Yeah.
So.
But you're 100% right. No, I don't know what team in their right mind is going to give up that much for James Harden.
They're going to leverage their future for the next several years for a guy who might just leave on a 1-year contract.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
When is James Harden contract up?
I don't know. I'd have to look. I forget how long it was because that's why he can't just leave. Obviously, he's not a free agent,
yeah.
So and they're just like, well, hold on to you, dude. Like that's fine. But I think we've seen like this trend of disgruntled players, which actually, if you look in the league, has been going on for throughout the tenure of the league. Wilt Chamberlain was doing this, Moses Malone, Hakeem Olajuwon, like when they wanted to leave, and they actually didn't. They stayed with their teams, and they actually eventually won championships with their teams. So that has happened.
Mm-hmm.
But we've seen now recently, Harden's done this. LeBron has done this several times. He's the guy who recruits players. He tells owners and management, I want this player on my team.
Yeah.
You go get them. KD did this in setting up the super team in Golden State, and now with the Nets. Kyrie's done this. Kawhi did this going to LA. Like he pretty much could pick and choose where he went and who he wanted to come with him. And so we see NBA players have, it appears, a lot of power. We don't see this work in any other sports. Le'Veon Bell tried it, and he just didn't play for a whole year. He was like, all right, fine. You just miss out on everything, and you don't get paid. So do players have too much power in the NBA? What is it? How do you guys think? You don't think they do?
No, because if you want to win a championship, I think you should have if you know because we've said some pretty big names right there, like LeBron and Kevin Durant. If you know that you are the type of player that can excel your team so much that they could win a championship, and 3 of those people have. Yeah, 3 of them have. I think you should totally have a say in who's on your team and who your management surrounds you with. It's just one
So
of
then
those
you
sports.
agree that they have a lot of power.
I agree that they have a lot of power. I don't think it's too much.
Oh, all right. I respect that. So you think that's a good thing for the league then?
Honestly, I do.
All
I
right.
am a huge fan of the super team.
Ooh, Aaron's smirking. All right, so here's my take real quick. I think it doesn't work in other sports, but I think it works in that sport. I think it was patently stupid for who's that stupid head coach in Tampa Bay? That moron.
Arians?
Bruce Arians, to listen to Tom Brady and pick up Antonio Brown. Like, no, you're the head
Yeah.
coach. He's the quarterback. I don't care who he wants to throw to. Don't infect your team with poison because your quarterback wants to build a super team like they do in the NBA. I think it works in
Blame-
the NBA though, and the
Blame
reason
CTE.
what? Yeah, no, I mean, whatever. Sure, like it's probably because it's something like that, and that's been actually pretty well documented. I don't mean to go down this bunny trail, but like either way, unfortunately, Antonio Brown, although he's a really great player, is poisonous to a locker room just because of what he is now, and it could be arguably because of how long he's played in the league and some of the hits he's taken.
No,
But
that's a good point.
my point is that you don't want the in that league you can't have the players. It just doesn't work that way. It's not that type of sport. I think
Yeah.
in the NBA it works that way, and I'm okay with the NBA players having that much power because I think that it translates to a product that the average NBA fan wants to see. I think that a good sport to comp it to as far as power and players goes is the MLB. The MLB has, the players have a ton of power and a ton of leverage, but they use it to get huge contracts to sit out and not care about their fans and,
Right.
and
Dude,
effectively
spot
kill
on.
their product. Like
Spot on.
Yep.
they literally have all the leverage and they could care less how it translates to the product on the field and how the fans care about it. Now, I don't know if NBA players care about their fans, but they're putting out a product that their fans want to watch. So
Right.
if these players are able to put together teams and GMs are willing to listen to them because it gets them championships, go for it. Make it happen because clearly your fans want to see it.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement. The reason I was smirking with Tyler was I didn't think he would be. So I was like, oh, all right, because I'm actually I love seeing the super teams too.
Super team is great.
It's
and
been
I
something
think-
that's been around for forever too. Like it really has been.
It has. I mean, really, the Celtics started this, and like over 10 years ago, 12 years ago now. But I don't know. I think if this was in the NFL, I would not like this, just because again, how Eric you were saying that how the sport is played. This would be horrible for the NFL. Because it's much more of a team game, more players. That's a cancer on the football field.
Yeah.
But in the NBA, I kind of like this. So one thing I really like about the NBA is because it's fewer athletes, is you become more attached and invested in individual players typically than you would in the NFL because you see them more. They have more impact on the game, and so I kind of like to see that. And everyone knows that out of all the major sports, coaching in the NBA is honestly the least needed.
Yeah.
It really is. Like they're least important compared to the other major sports.
I've never heard somebody say like, "Oh, they lost the game last night because of the head coach."
No,
that was a bad play call. Like
basketball is more so about the talent on the court than about the coaching.
Right.
Like, I mean, you could obviously coaching plays some effect into it, but if you have a talented player, you don't really
take
need
over.
to coach them too much. Exactly.
Sure, right.
And so I do think that players should have more power because of that. And I honestly, the product of the NBA has been better since this has happened. Viewership's gone outside of the COVID year, obviously, because all sports are down. But up until then, NBA has been growing steadily. And I think it's because people like seeing those players. They like getting to know them more. So I'm all for it. I'm all for them having all that power. And Eric, I know you have some beef, I think, with Kyrie.
I don't have beef. I just wanted to. I read it in the headlines, and I just wanted to touch on it. Did you guys see what Kyrie is blabbing on about? Like, talk about a guy who thinks he has, thinks he and then he calls himself an artist.
No, please.
No, no.
You're
like,
an athlete.
It's so annoying. Like this is. I guess I do have beef because he's just annoying. He's just like I want to like.
He tries to be woke. Has to
Yeah,
be,
and
tries to be.
woke people don't say F Thanksgiving. I'm sorry. Like morons say that. I'm sorry. Like that's just how it like I don't know what else to say. This guy is just I don't know. He comes out with things and
Yeah.
it's just like David Price did the same thing to me. David
Oh,
Price would
do
come out
not
with
get me
things.
started on David Price. I can't believe you even
Tyler.
compared those two. I really don't mind Kyrie Irving. My goodness,
to-
David Price. Oh,
he couldn't play. He couldn't pitch because he played too much Fortnite. Like, and he gets to the mic and he says he has
I
all
was
the
at
cards now.
that game.
Oh my
He
God.
left in the
Oh.
second inning because his fingers were numb from playing too much Fortnite. Greatest Red Sox game I've ever attended. It was a huge brawl. It was amazing. Joe Kelly, if you ever hear this podcast, I love you and I have a huge crush on you. Go ahead.
No, that was great. Like the comparisons there though, they're really great talents. They just can't get out of their own way when they get in front of a mic. Like, and
Yeah.
that is what I know. I'm just going to be a fanboy for a minute, but that's why I love the Patriots way, and I mean that by how they get in front of the mic because it's more fun to hear them not say anything and like try so hard not to say anything
Right.
than it is for Kyrie to get up there and say F Thanksgiving.
Mm.
Like,
And the earth
I would
is
ra-
flat and all that.
like the Earth. Like you're not helping anything. You just sound stupid.
I just love science. I'm a science person.
I didn't get
Earth
his
is
whole
flat.
media thing.
He called them pawns.
Yeah,
and
I
then
don't
when he tried to
understand what he was
clarify,
trying to say.
that's like
I think
when
the
Cam
one-
Newton
I
picked
thi-
on that one chick. Remember that? He's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I find it funny when a girl's asking me a sports question. Like,
Yeah.
shut up.
Yeah.
I actually think the statement that you read that he said earlier was like, I hope that they use this fine money or whatever to help, impoverished communities. I mean,
That part wasn't bad.
that's pretty cool. I would do the same
That part
thing.
wasn't bad at all.
I would purposefully get fined.
That actually is a good question. Where does the fine money go?
I thought in one of the sports it
They-
did go
they-
to that.
I'm pretty sure in most professional sports that the money goes to like they donate it.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I was like,
it's really
crap, I hope
cool.
it doesn't go to the
I think
commissioner.
I think it's more so in these huge the NFL and the NBA, where fines are dished out like once a week.
Right.
Um,
Well, that's good. As long
And
as
I think
if
that
it
they
goes back
donate
to
them.
charity, that's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
because the league doesn't need any more money. They make enough money.
Oh yeah, billions.
A $50,000 fine on a player is really who's on the what making $4 million a year. That's
That's
really,
like a $20 fine for us.
exactly
Yeah.
it's a seatbelt ticket.
All right. Well, there's your piece on Kyrie. Great basketball player, kind of nuts.
Crazy.
Also, I want to
Totally.
let this
Tyler.
resonate. Hold on, I want to
Go
let
ahead.
this resonate with our listeners really quick. And I don't know if he was serious or not, but Jacob Ware, he said that Kyrie Irving is the best point guard in the league. Just let that
So-
resonate.
Oh yeah, we don't need to hit on that, right?
No,
Or
just
are
let
we
it.
hitting on that?
No. We
Okay.
don't need to hit on it. We can talk about it next week. But let it resonate. I want to know what you guys think. Email us.
Let it marinate for a week.
Yeah,
see what
marinate that a
happens.
little
Is
bit.
Kyrie the best point guard in the league? And if not, who do you think is?
That's our question. Hit us up under 500 at Gmail.
I will add that to the notes for next week. Tyler, you want to talk some baseball?
Yeah, dude. Baseball's heating up a little bit.
It is.
They're
So,
doing some good stuff.
where do we want to start? Do we want to start with this Theo Epstein quote, or do we want to start with the team in Cleveland, or with the Red Sox and who they picked
Oh,
up?
the
Well,
team in
let's go
Cleveland.
with Cleveland really quick
Okay,
because
so
that's quick. The
Cleveland announced
Yeah, go ahead,
that they would
go
be
ahead.
changing their name. I think it's the first time that their name is going to change since like 1905 or something. They're currently the Cleveland Indians. I think their mascot is literally an Indian,
It is
or a Native American. Excuse me. It's a Native
indigenous
American.
person.
Indigenous American. I really actually
Oh,
try
you're
and
so
keep up with all this.
racist, Eric.
I try so hard to keep up with all that actually
it's
because I
okay.
don't want to accidentally make a mistake.
We're gonna
but-
get canceled 6
Ah.
episodes in.
No, it's fine. You made an effort. Your effort was noted.
That is true. You did.
So anyways, so their mascot is, and it honestly it is an ancient depiction of somebody who is native to the American lands. So what are your thoughts on not only just the Cleveland Indians changing their name, but just kind of in general the name change thing that's been kind of permeating sports, where we're trying to get away from names that might inaccurately depict a particular people group, and some would argue that those people actually enjoyed that depiction at the time, which is why it was acceptable. but now it seems like in woke America, we're not as okay with that. What are your thoughts on
My
that?
take is I have no idea why or how it took this long for the Redskins to change their name to the, for now, Washington football team, and obviously they're going to come up with something
Yeah, they
else.
gotta figure that crap out soon.
Yeah.
Like,
I hate calling them the Washington.
The
I don't-
Washington football
you
team.
know,
think of something. I don't know.
nothing annoyed, but and I will say this, and I don't want to get my woke side out because this is a sports podcast, not a not a social whatever,
Social justice.
social justice, but I have no idea how it took this long for this to happen. The thing I find the most annoying is the people who are like, oh, I'm always going to call them the Redskins. I'm always going to call them the Indians. It's like, that's a pointless thing to say. I don't know why it took this long. I'm all for them changing it. That's fine in my book. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to change it to.
I know. For me, I'm completely indifferent to this. Again, I don't want to get political on a sports podcast, so I'm not. But and I don't want to get this too like ministryized either. But I thought of it in like church terms, and obviously churches in the past have always had like, oh, you need to wear like dress shirt
right.
and suit pants and stuff to church, and if you don't, then then you're doing it wrong. I'm always gonna wear this. It's like, okay, but now you're
If the king's not on it, the king's not in it.
yeah. If but now you're alienating people who maybe they can't afford a suit pants, or maybe
Right.
they don't feel comfortable in that, and so you're not going to bring them in. It's like maybe that makes them feel bad about themselves.
Right.
And it's like, okay, but now they can't enjoy church and come to church. Well, in the sports, it's like if there's someone who maybe they are offended by this, then it's like you could take the stance of, well, you're just too like weak, or you're a snowflake. It's like, but is that really your job as a league and as a team is to try to draw people in to make money? And then if it's like, okay, you know what, you're offended by this, we're willing to change the name to allow more people to enjoy our product. So, because really that's what the league is. It's entertainment. It's bringing people together so they can enjoy a game, and you're trying to foster a sense of community. And if that changing the name enables that, then, and because there's a group that does feel offended, then hey, I mean, I know Paul said I'm willing to do all things for all people. I know this is sports, but I kind of fall along that mindset with this.
Right. I agree. I agree with that a lot.
Yeah, I agree. So, I wrote down just the word torn when I wrote this out. And the reason why I wrote that word down is not because I'm torn about, what the name might represent or anything like that. What I'm torn by is that initially when all these things happen, there's just like this knee-jerk reaction of, oh boy, here we go. Like we're going to go into another controversy about something that I just frankly don't care about. Like here,
Right.
and I don't want to invest too much time in this. It is something that happened. I know I'm the one that brought it up, but I just feel like these things take too much time out of people's day where they want to talk about how significant a name is or isn't. But here's how I personally land on this. I lived in Southeast Texas for a while, and there was a city called Port Arthur that used to be a very very bland city in that it was a very white person city. It's really the first place I ever really witnessed what it meant to be like systematic racism.
Right.
The African American people lived initially on the west side of Port Arthur, and there was a W next to all the street signs, which meant west. So like just your address alone represented what type of person you were, which I just think was wrong. And I didn't like how that worked out. But there was this middle school. It wasn't an elementary school called Lee Elementary, and it was after Robert E. Lee. And this is deep Texas. This is like almost Louisiana, kind of deep Texas. And so initially, 100 years ago or whatever that school was established, the population was fine with that name. The problem is now the population is a huge African American population. And they saw that name, and rightly so, by the way, as a name that represented their oppression and the desire to continue their oppression and slavery. And so they petitioned the town to change the name, and they did. And there was controversy about it. And I remember thinking, why do you guys care that there's controversy about this? The organization and the people in the community got together and say that name doesn't represent our values. We want it changed. And that's how I feel about these organizations. The name no longer represents our values. I own the organization, or the chairman of the board sit down and we say we have the power to change this, and they're going to. Like, that is their job. And not only is that their job to make those tough decisions, it's their right. They have a
Mhm.
right as an organization to say, this name no longer accurately represents who we
Right.
are and where we are as an organization. And I am no longer okay with that name, and change it. And personally, in that regard, no problem. Absolutely no problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very well said, Eric.
Yeah.
Dude, that's spot on.
Impressed.
That's yeah.
Look at
My
Eric
goodness, that
go.
was really. No, I completely agree with that. Times
Okay.
change.
Yeah.
This no
They
longer
absolutely
represents.
do.
This no longer represents the ideals and of the team. I that's perfect.
And in fairness, it probably shouldn't have ever in the first place.
Sure.
But now people are more aware of it, and I think
Yes.
rightly so.
Yeah.
But in less serious matters, baseball, Tyler. What, I know you're really into baseball. I grew up loving baseball probably more than football. Let me just read you this quote by Theo Epstein. Theo Epstein, by the way, is the guy that obviously brought us the World Series in. He's probably, Tyler, I don't know if you would agree with this, the greatest GM of all time.
Yes,
he brought
Theo Epstein
the two biggest
is
loser
amazing.
franchises.
He's the
amazing,
best.
right? So Theo Epstein said it's about baseball. It's the greatest game in the world, but there are some threats to it because of the way the game is evolving. And I take some responsibility for that because the executives like me who have spent a lot of time using analytics and other measures to try and optimize individual and team performance have unwittingly had, a negative impact on the aesthetic value of the game and the entertainment value of the game. I mean, clearly, the strikeout rate is a little bit out of control, and we need to find a way to get more action in the game, get a ball and play more often, allow players to show their athleticism some more, and give the fans more of what they want. So before you respond, he's right, by the way.
Yes.
Strikeouts are at an all-time high, and home runs are at an all-time high. And the whole thing now is like the three predictable outcomes, because a strikeout and a home run and a walk are things you can punch into a computer and get models off after. And, a ball in play that could take a weird bounce is not something that you can really put into a computer and then try and replicate. So it's better to get a walk than anything, or it's better to get a home run than anything, and it's better than get a strikeout than anything, because a strikeout is only worth like 1 out, but if you ground out with someone on base, it's 2 outs. So it's better to just strike out than it is to ground out. But if you can hit the home run, that's obviously better because you get 2 runs immediately if you have someone on base, or 1 run immediately than it is to maybe get on second base and then as a double, and then people strike. You know what I'm saying? Like they can punch this all into a computer. The problem is that it's just made the game like and
You take
not
the
only that,
backyard fun out of it.
it
Right.
does. It takes like the fun of just, the ball takes a weird bounce and some guy's going to try and get the in the park home run, or, not only that, but it's made the game longer. It's made time of play longer. It's made the average time between action longer. Like you have to wait like I don't know, 3.5 minutes between, if not longer now, between like balls in play. It's in 2018, it was 3 minutes and 45 seconds to get a ball in play. That doesn't guarantee, by the way, that ball in play is like something action to watch. That could be a ground out. That could be just a simple single. That could be anything.
Right.
It's just a ball in play. It's not necessarily anything worth really watching. So you're waiting 3 minutes and 45 seconds in 2018, by the way. So 2 years ago, it's probably longer now, to get a ball in play. And then that ball 9 times out of 10 isn't anything worth watching. So
Right.
what do we do with this sport, Tyler, that we love?
First of all, let me just say, as a baseball fan, I will never get sick of baseball. No matter how, I could sit down and watch a 5-hour baseball game and be interested the entire time. Baseball to me, and the reason for that is, and I talked to my friend Anthony about this a lot. Baseball is one of the only sports that you can not sit on a clock. Baseball is one of the only sports that you can that the clock does not dictate how the game's going to go. You are playing 9 innings no matter what. So that's why I love baseball, because it could be 3-2, 3-1, 3-0 in the bottom of the 9th inning, and the home team can still win it. You still have to pitch to the guy. You can't take a knee and say, let me run out the clock, or let me dribble the basketball for 30 seconds. Or I don't know how soccer works. We learned a little bit about that last week from Brandon. But,
Shout
baseball is one of those. But I have, I've been saying this for the past few months is people need to get over it. I'm changing that completely. Baseball needs a shot of adrenaline. It really does, because whether or not you agree with it or whether or not you like it, baseball is tanking in ratings.
Yeah.
People don't want to sit there and watch a 4-hour baseball game.
They don't have time to. 162 games at 4 hours each.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's too long. And you know what? Some ways they've tried to fix that is this past season a relief pitcher had to come in and at least face 3 batters unless the inning ended. You could end the inning and not come back up. You have to face 3 batters. So yes, that switches it up from I'm going to bring in a righty to face the righty, take him out, go to a commercial break. Come back with a lefty, make him face a lefty, take him out, go to a commercial break. Do I think that that's going to help in the long run? No, I really don't. Do I think that not taking actually 4 pitches for a 4-pitch walk or for an intentional walk and just having the coach say signal 4, do you know how much time that saves? Maybe 60 seconds. It's not helping. A pitch clock is not going to help.
I disagree with that one.
Let me tell you, a pitch clock is not going to make the game more watchable.
No, but it'll speed the game up.
Will it make the game shorter? Will it make the game shorter? Sure. Will it speed the game up? Sure. Will it make the games more watchable? Absolutely not.
But wouldn't you want to start there? Wouldn't you want to start with
a shorter game? Do I think a pitch clock is the start? Yes, sure. I think that a pitch clock right now for what the league can actually do is the biggest fix that they can make it's the biggest step in the right direction. But is it going to make it more watchable?
2.5 hours. If you get games down to 2.5 hours, I guarantee you viewership increases.
And not only that, a pitch clock forces players to stop thinking about like the longer I hold the ball, the faster it goes. So you would actually get more action, because the whole reason they hold the ball longer between pitches is they know if they hold it for 10 more seconds, they get 0.10 more velocity, or whatever the math is on that. I'm just making those numbers up because they sounded good. But if you say 30 seconds, 25 seconds, you have to hold the ball and throw it. If not, it's a strike. You're now pressuring that guy. Make a decision. Throw the ball. Oh, it's a double. Okay, what are you going to do now?
Right.
What pitch are you going to use to get out of that?
And they've done it in the minor leagues. Single A, double A, triple A all had pitch clocks this past 2 years, I believe.
The problem is the players, though, don't want to change anything.
And they have all the control.
The players have all the control. They really do.
They're like, no, we want what we want. Screw the fans.
Yes, and you know what? Players have come out and said that we don't care about the fans. We're playing
100%.
We're playing baseball to do blah blah blah. Well, you know what? When baseball goes in the tank because you don't have any fans left,
getting your salary,
you're going to get a huge pay cut because of that. So it's time for the baseball players to listen to their organization. I really do.
Yeah,
and we're pretty much over time here. Did you guys have anything else to say?
I do not.
Okay, let me end with this.
And I'll watch.
Let me end with this. Please, for the love of all that is holy, make Theo Epstein the MLB commissioner, and I promise you, baseball will be very good in good hands. I really do.
I sign off on that.
Theo Epstein is a godsend to the MLB. He's been amazing for the past 20 years, and he will do amazing as the MLB commissioner. Please. I don't know how the process works, but make Theo Epstein the commissioner. And with that, it's time. Go ahead, Aaron.
Well, as you guys just heard Tyler's plea, we need to get this shared to as many people as possible to get Theo to be the commissioner. So, see, it's on you guys now to share this. But in all seriousness, please, if you have not subscribed yet, do not be scared. Hit that button. We are on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we are on YouTube as well. Subscribe there, share the links with your friends, with your family who like hearing about sports or like hearing 3 idiots just gab for an hour plus. We would love to have that happen. Again, you can look at us on Instagram. We have an Instagram account at the Under 500 Podcast and a Facebook page for extra content that we give throughout the week that you guys can feel free to comment on, leave us messages. We'd love to hear your guys' opinions. And again, any email that you want to send us about topics that you find interesting that you want to hear on the show. We've already been going through some of those that people have sent in. We want to hear what you guys want us to talk about, what you guys want to hear, and that is at under500podcast@gmail.com. All right, guys, another episode in the books. Well done, as always. Always a pleasure
Thank
with you
you.
two
Thanks,
gents.
everybody, for
Bid
joining
your
us.
adieu to the people.
Adios. Have a good week.
See you, everybody. Hope you
Peace
have a
out,
really good week.
everyone.
See ya.